Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hindsight Podcast. Well, just 82 days from the 2020-21 season. Another Premier League season is back, and of course, the crew are actually here to take you through all the big talking points ahead of match day one. My name is Yubby, and so one of it, Luckily Refy makes it back on the podcast, and myself, Wale, of course, returns on the table from production, and we've got a new addition in Adeni. Adeni, it's good to talk to you. Wale, fantastic to see what the guys did last week. Shout out to Babajide Guerrero, by the way, for holding it down with the cap, even though I couldn't see his face, but that's all right. Solis was here as well. And IBK, check yourself well. Right, good to have you on the podcast as well. How's it going?
Very fine, very fine. Yeah.
I mean, look, how do you go from having a Premier League season for 7 months and all of a sudden 82 days, you don't watch any Premier League football?
No, I think, obviously...
Because even with the Euros, you miss it.
No, I think, you miss the Premier League games, you miss league football generally, but at least you got something, right? So, and it's still the biggest stars, the biggest players playing in the Euros. So, even though we went quite tuned into the Copa America, but it gave some sort of excitement as well.
At the final day.
Exactly, on the final day. So, yeah, I think as much as you miss club football, the fact that you still have the biggest stars playing in the Euros and the Copa America is still something to look forward to.
Right.
And I think the drama around the Olympics also was...
Exactly.
What
drama?
No. From a Nigerian point of view.
Exactly.
The drama and everything.
I agree with him because at least it gives you something to talk about. Something to rant about or be angry about.
Definitely.
I'm sorry, man. The Olympics was a downer. I just feel like you go from the
From Euros.
From the Euros to the Olympics was like this. Euros was fun. Super fun, right? So to go from the Euros to the Olympics was this.
I thought the Olympics was good. Was fair.
It was okay.
Not the best, obviously, because there were no fans in the
First
stadium.
of all, the fact that there were no fans in the stadium,
A lot of stars pulled out as well.
all that drama around the Olympics. I don't want to go to some places, but
Well, lots of the drama was from Nigeria.
Yeah, it was.
yeah,
lot of it.
but I mean, there was a story from a Belarusian athlete. Apparently, she spoke against the Belarusian government and she had to seek asylum, I think, in Poland or something like that.
She was supposed to run in the 200 meters, but
Right.
on the day of the event, they told her that, no, you are going to run in the 400 meters.
Right.
And she was like, no, I can't do this, I can't do that. And she stood up to the officials, the Belarusian officials. And I believe they have their roots in Nigeria because you don't talk against the government officials. And so decided, okay, you're not going to be competing, we're smuggling you back to Belarus and to go and face punishment. She said they told her that, hey, you're going to face punishment. They specifically told her you face punishment, and she was like, no. On the way to the airport, she cried for help, and because the Japanese authority, they saw her and they were like, hey, what's happening? She told her story and they were like, no, you can't go anywhere. And before you know it, Austrian government and of course Amnesty International, they said, okay, you don't need to go back to Belarus. No, just come to our country and come and represent us. So she's looking at countries to represent for Olympics. She said she's still young and she can't quit because of the setback from her country. So instead of going back to my country, I'll go back to... She's looking like she will go to Austria. That's like the country that's willing to take her right now.
I tell you what, that's a great way to introduce yourself on the podcast. It's great, actually. On my set. That's actually amazing.
That's solid information.
Fantastic. Great. Let's start off with... by the way, his name is Adeni. It's good to talk to you as well. And shout outs to your employers for all they do for you. Right then. Let's talk about the Premier League season. And I want to start off with the rules you should be accustomed to. So normally... Obviously, when you go into a new Premier League season, I mean, every football follower knows a couple of things. You know, the standard things still apply. So normal service resumes, but this Premier League season has seen a few things dialed back. So one of them is the VAR, which is pretty much a huge controversial talking point across the Premier League and across world football. Interestingly, the VAR was actually put to good use in the Euros. Right? Except the Sterling one. The Sterling penalty. But ultimately, it was great.
It was good.
Right?
Yeah,
so I guess this is the Premier League problem. So, thicker lines. Let's talk about that. I mean, armpits, toenails, something like that, long nails. I have a friend, Diego Kingston. If you see this guy's nails this.
Yeah.
That guy plays football. I'm sure his nail would be a constant, a problem for VR referees. But, so thicker lines would not be used this season to draw for offside calls, which I think is amazing because in the end, football is an incredible sport, and you don't want to, in many ways, robotize it. you have to give a little bit of discretion to the referee. So the fact that referees have been told explicitly they would not be thicker lines this season allows for attackers to know that, if the badge of my shirt, is unnecessarily, I can still score a goal.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is that if you're offside just by probably 0.0 something meters or your arm just goes over the line, you can't score a goal with your arm anyway.
What would you say about goal line technology then? Because
goal line is
completely different.
Goal line is
automated.
No.
Goal line is totally
automated.
Exactly.
You see, the thing with goal line is that goal line works with an inanimate object.
Yeah.
Right? A ball. A ball that never changes its shape.
Exactly.
At any point in time.
You're either crossing the line or you're not crossing the line.
It's always 360. It's always like this.
Right.
Human being at any point in time, you could feel like to race better than this centre back, I need to be like this.
Like this, exactly.
But you're onside. And it could be that your knuckle is offside. So
so I think the for me, it is the fact that if you get a goal with your arm, the goal gets chalked off. So if your arm is offside, I don't see any reason why if you then score a goal, I don't see any reason why the goal shouldn't stand. So that's why I feel like it's a good, very, very solid development in terms of we've seen some ridiculous decisions in terms of VAR chalking off goals in the last season or two where it's just a tiny difference.
Yeah.
And, some really great goals and then they get cancelled. So that's why I feel probably is a good thing. Not probably, actually. I think it's a good thing.
Premier League actually used the word trivial things to describe such, calls. Right. So speaking of which, a penalty like Raheem Sterling's zone will not be given.
Yeah.
Right. Because that clearly there's contact, but clearly that's minimal contact.
Very minimal.
And I think everybody that had an argument with me on Twitter has to come and apologize to me. Ayobami, Don Dekojo, please come talk to me and apologize because the Premier League are on my side now.
I am all for this. Because, see, I've had this conversation, numerous times, even with the Neobong. I'm quite unhappy for the fact that he's not here today. It's a case of, and I've always told, in Neobong that when the way football is going, there's too much advantage being given to the attacking player. There was a time when a defender knows that if I'm in my box, there are some things that I can get away with because I'm in my box. Definitely. But these days, because we're giving too much benefit of the doubt to the attacking player, you see minimal or no contact at all being given as penalties. That's why I absolutely love the new, tweak to the VAR rule. You have to, and now they're saying maybe attacking players are going to get rewarded for staying on their feet,
right? Which
I think is also fantastic. So minimal contact. Now, attacking players do not have to go and try and buy the penalty.
Right.
If you get an enough contact to go to ground, then you're going to get a penalty. So I think fantastic.
I think it's actually brilliant. The fact that I've always felt like when people say football is a
contact sport.
It's not obviously that's a standard, right? But when people say football is meant for goals, I as a football fan, I agree with that. But also, football is about attacking and defending. So defending is an art of the game as well, right? So people say it as if to imply that defenders are secondary in the game. I don't think so. I think goalkeepers are primary in the game. It is an important skill to know how to defend. So as much as you are a creative player, I know how to snuff out, step out, intercept the ball. That's a skill that should be appreciated in the game. So a lot of people say, in the end, what we want to see in football is goals. I don't agree.
I tell you what. That's why I won't join the school of thought that criticized Jose Mourinho for his game pattern. Right. Because I feel like
you can come next week.
Yeah, okay. because I feel if you're an attacking coach, I can also play anywhere I want to play.
Right.
So far, I win you games and I win you titles and I can score 1 or 2 goals. So whether you're attacking, I might not go all out attacking it like you do. So that's why I feel like I can choose to defend the way I want to defend. And for those that saw Italian Serie A back then, we know that the art of defending was from the Italians. And unlike the defenders we have these days, not taking anything away from Van Dijk, Maguire, and the rest, but I still feel that we don't have defenders that we had back then. Right now, probably because of the way football has changed. You can't touch player too much. If a player falls down, Mo Salah.
They tell you they tell you that players are traveling at 100 miles per hour. Who cares?
Exactly. Who cares? I should be able to do my job without
my friend Ayolabi always tells me. He always shout out to him. He always says, You know, Raheem Sterling, I'm going to be making. Raheem Sterling is running at 100 miles per hour. I'm
Who
like,
cares?
I think it's
look, I really don't care.
We're not into motor
The
racing.
guy is there to defend the ball. Let him do his damn
Exactly.
job.
Just to
And
rearrange,
I think defenders are scared these days, to
Yeah,
actually,
true.
to go all out too
Yeah,
much for
yeah.
when
just to
defending.
rearrange, the saying
Right.
that football is about goals. I think football is about winning.
Right.
So you have to do what
What
you
it
have
takes
to
to
do
win. Exactly.
Whether it is scoring 15 goals,
Yeah.
Or scoring
it is
a goal in
making
a match.
sure you don't concede
Concede a
one.
goal.
I think it has always been like that. And now that you have money, a lot of money in the game,
Yeah.
it's even more important that you win.
And you see
just
another thing. You mentioned not having defenders that we used to have back then.
I had a light bulb moment in my head. The same people that tell you that football is about attacking play, go and spend 50 million on a defender. E.g. Pep Guardiola.
Why don't you buy 11 at
Why do your own club buy Van Dijk? Why don't you buy an attacker to play
Yes, sir.
as centre back?
Yeah.
You get so it's a bit of a
See,
of a paradox in the sense that you cannot say football is about goals,
Yeah.
but then we have
You
to
go
pay
all out,
now.
you
They got
splash-
to pay
you
premium
splash
for
50
a
million.
centre back. How much you buy Emerick Laporte for? How much you buy Ruben Diaz for? So
Let-
it's a paradox. in the game.
Those players still play football. How about Nathan Ake, an expensive backup, and
Just-
we
you
saw
get-
what happened.
right.
We saw what happened over the weekend against Leicester City.
So let's
in
go.
the-
So
in the
let's-
community.
so let's go outside football for a bit. If you need something to do with your finance in your company or something, you get an accountant or something. If there's something wrong with your health, you get a. So in football, if you need to defend, you go and look for a defense. See, because I always tell people, a defender. I don't fancy a defender that doesn't enjoy being the bad guy. You have to enjoy being the bad guy. You have to be able to look.
And
people-
that's why I love Rudiger.
Exactly,
Because
you have to be
he's
able to
beginning to
look-
have that character
Exactly.
in him.
So
where
also,
just
it's the same
always
reason why
dirty.
when people criticize Sergio Ramos, yes, I agree. There are times when we cannot agree that Sergio Ramos will go over the top. He will take some cards that are unnecessary. But I think that Sergio Ramos is an embodiment of what a proper defender should be. Don't come near me; I will kill you.
Definitely.
That's who I
Definitely.
think a defender should be.
Definitely.
So I mean,
Yeah,
I think it's Pep
agree.
Guardiola that's giving us this idea of a ball playing defender. He needs to pass out from the back.
Right.
But we keep forgetting that the basic thing about a defender is defend.
Yeah.
Then every other thing comes.
And I think he
into
cannot
play.
create.
And even,
I
and even
feel
for
like that.
goalkeepers as well. For goalkeepers as well. That's the first thing
first-
you should be able to stop.
Stop
shots.
you're a
Shots.
stopper.
Yeah.
First
That's
thing.
it. That's
Yeah.
the first thing.
Yeah, and you would love this argument because a couple of weeks ago we were talking about who would be who's the best man in the world.
Yeah.
And he was the striker's just job. The job is just to score a goal.
Yeah.
Right. So let's talk about handballs, right? One of the new adjustments in the rules is that there is, of course, for popular football arguments, ball to handball, and all that stuff, right? And I've had those arguments maybe 100 times in my life,
Yeah.
right? And we never get to a conclusion, right? So unnatural position is the body in a natural position, was hands out of the frame. Did his hands make his body bigger?
Bigger.
Well, what is the hand position? What is the hand or arm position in relation to body movement? Is the body made unnaturally bigger for accidental handball? Well, right now, this Premier League season, it is an offense if an attacker scores directly, of course, or immediately after the ball touches his hand or arm. So let's say, for example, the penalty that Leeds, I don't even remember, Leeds scored against, was it Liverpool now? Yeah, last September. That penalty.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember it.
No,
I
that
can't
was
remember.
Bamford now.
No.
I can't remember.
It wasn't Leeds.
That goal will not be given. The one Musala. No, the one Leeds scored.
That's Robertson on Bamford.
No, it was Musala. Musala actually scored the goal.
No, that's Liverpool got the
Liverpool got the
Liverpool
penalty.
scored.
Okay.
That will not count, right? So I also feel like, in the end, you cannot, because you're a defender, cut your arms off.
No, definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
clearly, if you are attempting to, I think these are one of the people say you can never go into the player's mind to know exactly what he was thinking. But I think it's very clear when you see someone trying to make his body bigger. And you can tell when this is just a natural
Natural.
running
I'll tell you a
or
story.
athletic move.
Sure.
I'll tell you a story. Many years ago, I was playing a game.
Right.
This was a professional game. And unknown to me, I didn't know anything about it. Between the space of about 5 minutes, I handled the ball like 3 times. I was substituted immediately. And I was the captain of the team, right? So somewhere in the mind of my coach, he felt like today is not this guy's day.
Right.
Because I didn't know anything about it. I was just trying to play, right? And the ball hit my arm like 3 times in the space of 5-6 minutes. And the guy was like, no, you are done for today. So I said that to say that I think the debate about handballs would go on forever. Because I don't think it's clear. You see situations where, it feels like the guy is deliberately trying to make himself big. Sometimes the player is just trying to give himself some sort of elevation, trying to jump, and then he gets penalized.
Which brings me to the point I want to make as well, which you make a great point.
Yeah.
But having said that, the new rule about the handball, so the players, we talked about defenders being given a bit of discretion, give them benefit of doubt as well. Having said that, I think it's also important that defenders know where they are at every point in time. So I don't like a careless defender.
You can't be a good defender without knowing that.
I don't like a...
You're aware that you're in the box.
Someone cannot be crossing the ball, and that's time you want to scratch your eye. You understand? Something like that, I want to scratch my eye.
So you see...
Do you understand? No. So you don't do that.
So you see the thing is also...
Another time, you say, maybe you want... do a pledge to my country. No. So keep your hands back. So you see players trying to cross the ball. You see players do like this.
No. So the thing is,
you are giving the referee too much.
But then I know basics for defender is when crossing the ball and you're facing the winger. Normally you should put your hand behind your back when crossing, except you
keep your body.
Except you have Mohamed Sissoko, just like what happened at the Champions League final 2018. So
what do you do?
Musa, he was penalized for
the. So someone wants to cross the ball and you raise the hand.
Was that handball?
No. He used his hand. He was just out of his body.
It was just out of his
body. But then again,
in
the 18-yard ball, you should know, just like you said,
you
shouldn't do that in the 18-yard ball.
I think it was a penalty, but the referee was stupid.
It was 2 minutes into the game or something.
59 seconds.
59 seconds.
So what I think, for me,
the referee must know that you cannot swing a Champions League finals like that.
And you see, I'll go to the penalty that I can't remember the team Tottenham were playing, but I can remember Eric Dyer was penalized.
Right.
It was Newcastle.
It was the header now.
Yeah, it was. Yeah,
that was not a penalty.
That was not a penalty.
It was Andy Carroll. It was West Ham.
But guess what?
He wasn't even aware of the ball.
No, it was Newcastle.
But guess what? There are people that would argue. There are people that would argue this that it was handball. But the truth of the matter is that it is Andy Carroll behind me. You can't get the level of elevation or the level of height you want to get by putting your arm by your side and trying to jump. It is impossible. So that's one. The second thing is when defenders try to jump, they use their arm to protect themselves. Because if I don't protect myself, somebody's elbow might be coming my way.
And the Carroll and Marouane Fellaini can kill you if you don't protect yourself.
Exactly. So you have to protect yourself. So that's why I think maybe also it'll be nice. And that's the thing. Because referees don't get paid a whole lot compared to players.
Right.
So we don't have a referee that was an ex-player.
Right.
Professional level.
Yeah, I was
going to say that if we have more ex-players being referees, they'll have better understanding of
the game.
I was going to make that point when he was saying
why would I retire and I'm be running around with people?
I agree.
As a referee.
I agree, but guess what? We know that footballers, it is well documented. A lot of footballers get depressed
it's a great point you
after
make.
the game. So if referees get paid a lot of money,
right,
I don't think it is a bad idea because a lot of footballers get depressed
what I would say, a lot of referees start when maybe they're like 18, 19. So if you retire at 35 and you want to be a referee, how long does it take you to get into the Premier League? You'll be 50.
I agree. That makes sense.
That's a great point.
That's a very fantastic point.
But then what I think can happen is
the fact that you play the game at that level should give you a head start.
Okay.
That don't also, so for example, not every player in the academy is going to make it as a pro footballer.
Fact. So how about you go in that direction?
Why not channel your...
But guess what? All of the players... But guess what?
Stay in the game.
You can't give up 23. Come on.
But then again, Jamie Vardy might be an inspiration for players like that.
No. Look, there's always...
How many Jamie Vardys do we have in the game?
There's always Jamie Vardy. There's always a Kante.
Exactly.
But do you know how many players would not get to play the game professionally?
Definitely.
And
definitely.
I think
millions of them.
The FA can do a good job at saying, look, if we can raise the profile of refereeing, right, you can go into refereeing.
That's exactly what I'm saying. So you have to raise the profile.
Exactly.
Also, since we're speaking about refereeing, I also feel like referees should be allowed to speak to the media and explain the calls they make.
We have that now, but then it's the head of the referees that speaks to the media.
You didn't make the call, you didn't make the call, so you don't speak. I think that the referees should at least explain the calls they make. So even if you're not being asked questions, because everybody can ask questions, but I think for controversial calls, the referees at least should be brought into
the thought process behind.
My argument against this is this: I think that the Premier League have, in the recent times, trying to put the spotlight too much on the referees, and that's why the last 2 major competitions have shown that you can have VAR and it will work properly. So now that you're having all these things being chalked off, these things shouldn't have been there in the first place. For instance, now the referee should have been able to go to the byline to check the monitor in the first place.
From the onset.
So having to make the referee
in the end, the communication gap between the VAR and the referee is not known to us. So what makes you not decide to go to the monitor? Because a lot of times we say he has not even gone there.
Yeah, most of the time
he has not even gone there.
But we want the referee to take charge.
But you never know if the VAR told him, go take a look at it. So look.
No, you can't.
I don't think they would tell him to go check the monitor. And it would decide not to go.
Even one, they didn't tell him to go to the monitor.
The VAR.
You can't tell the referee to go to the monitor. You can suggest to him to go to the
monitor. Okay, suggest for him to go to the monitor.
The referee has a call. So the referee
But then why is it that all of a sudden the thing just changed?
That's semantics.
All of a sudden it just changed.
What I'm saying is that, I mean, your job, of course, is not to referee the game. Your job is to suggest that I think you might have made a mistake here.
Yeah.
So my advice as the VAR is that you go to the monitor. If the referee doesn't decide to go, or decide, bad English, if the referee doesn't go, right, he should at least tell us this is why I didn't go. But we'll never know that if they don't have a chance. I'm not saying make it regular, right? Put the strongest one on a big game, like City Liverpool, title deciding game. Talk to the media. This is why I made this penalty call, right? And maybe it gives us an insight as to how the referee's mind also works. Plus, guess what? It's great for marketing.
But I think Riley has been doing a good job explaining.
That's when they retire.
I'll tell you.
He's the head of the referees in Premier League. He does a good job.
The referees have obviously a very important role in the game, but also a very delicate role. So I think that if you start bringing the referees in the I'm for it though. Yeah. I don't mind having referees speak, but what then happens is that
they're becoming very important.
You also have to train them to be able to speak to the media, because what's going to happen is that you have referees come and just speak, this is my thought process behind this particular decision. And from that speech alone, you have a backlash in the sense that you go into another game, you make a decision.
I think whether you speak or not, there'll be a backlash. That's
you get
it. But I think now they are still protected in a way.
A bit, because they don't
if
come out
to say. If you put them in the face of the media,
they will have social media accounts. Who follow them.
On the spot, I don't have a 100% argument against putting them in the media.
As to everything, there are positives and negatives. There is no one job in the world that doesn't have negatives. Yeah. So if we're trying to have a job, a scenario where there will not be any negatives, then it's impossible.
No, but
then you can raise the profile of the referees. They can earn the buck.
Why I agree with you is that look, I don't care about being in the spotlight. The job that they have, that's why they have to raise their profile. They have to pay them better, because the job that they have, you probably have maybe 1% of the world population that'll get that job.
Yeah,
definitely.
True. So if footballers can get paid that amount of money, they should get paid. Maybe not as much as footballers, but at least get paid something. Really
I think if you're working in an environment that sees a lot of money around,
you should also.
Do you guys have an idea of what referees earn? Because we're just assuming.
No. We did it one time.
On the show.
If we're going to compare,
referees are not.
I can't give you the figures now. But if we're going to compare,
I think I remember.
It is not.
I think you're looking at maybe 50 grand a year.
Yeah.
Or 60 grand a year. Something
60
like
max.
that.
60,000
pounds.
Yeah.
That's weekly wages for an
academic
academic
player.
player.
So it is not like 0.something% of what some of these guys get on a weekly
So
level.
let's move on with the calls. I think we've talked about thicker lines. We've talked about handballs. We've talked about the offsides, the benefit of doubt for the attacking player being restored.
Yeah.
That's great. So
or of the defending player.
I mean, it's no for offside. The benefit of doubt for the attacking player, right? Okay. So we talked about that, and this doesn't interest me. I think players taking the knee is more.
So you want to talk about that?
It's more optics than it's more virtue signaling than anything.
Now I've always thought from
optics.
Let's see now from maybe like a month after the taking a knee gesture started. I've always thought There's no need for it.
Somebody made a great point about that stuff.
Yeah.
And even about racism online.
Yeah.
So if you go to Instagram, for instance, now, and you are scrolling through your feed,
Patrice Evra.
any content that concerns COVID-19 has
a tag.
Has a tag.
So why can't you flag
I'll tell you
racism
why.
stuff like that?
I'll tell you why. It's
Right.
the same thing.
Patrice Evra, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Fantastic point.
Look, it's
Brilliant.
the same thing. We've talked about it, and we've talked about it a lot of times. These people in charge of European football do not really have the fortitude to fight racism. There's so many of them that are racist. I can't confirm who and who is racist, but it's obvious. If we can get the kind of backlash against clubs that wanted to go to the Super League, the way it happened, they were ready to shut down football as we know it because of the Super League.
Yeah.
But we don't get the same energy when it comes to racism. People get fined 20,000, 50,000 pounds. Because of racism, because their fans were racist to players. That's like money that some of them probably spend on a gold chain or something.
Right.
So slap on the wrist. So
What's that, by the way?
what's what?
Is that a hoopla? I see a hoopla there. I see
Don't
you.
expose your
I
guy.
see what you're doing.
You get so
Abuja connection.
it is obvious, right, that there's no real desire to fight racism.
It's
we
just
want
surface level.
Exactly.
Surface
If we want to fight, everybody's just playing photo ops. Everybody's just playing to the gallery.
Yeah.
That's why I don't think the black players should take a knee anymore. It doesn't do anything.
That's what Zaha said, and he didn't take a knee in the last 10 games of the season. He just
Look, I totally agree with all of you. Right then, so players, of course, would have the no racism sleeve on their badge on their sleeves and all that stuff, but hey, it's not important.